Hi all, welcome back to software engineering course. Let's get started. Today we will begin our discussion with functional specification with the use cases and we'll see the basics of it. Okay. Now what are use cases? So the functional requirements this will form the core of the requirements document. Now the traditional approach for specifying the functionality is to specify each function that the system should provide. Now your use cases, this specifies the functionality of the system by specifying the behavior of the system, and it is captured as the interaction of the users with the systems. The use cases, these are this can be used to describe the business processes of the larger business, or it could be just describe the behavior of the software system. So we will focus on describing the behavior of the software system that are to be built. Okay. The use cases are primarily for specifying the behavior. They can also be used effectively for analysis. Remember this one. Now we will understand the basic terminology and the definition of those terminologies which can be used in use cases. The first one is the actor. Okay. Now, actor is a person or a system which uses the system for achieving some goal. Now they will interact with the system. So these people or systems we call them as actors. Okay. Now it is a logical entity that represents a group of users. It can be an individual user or a group of user, or it can also be a system who behave in a similar manner. Now different actors represent different groups with different goals. So it is better to have a sender and a receiver actor rather than a generic user for a system. Next, we have a primary actor. Now, this primary actor is the main actor who initiates a use case for achieving a goal and whose goal satisfaction is the main objective of the use case. Again, the primary actor is a logical concept, and though we assume that the primary actor executes a use case, some agent may actually execute it on behalf of the primary actor. That means if we take for an example, there is a VP vice president of a company and he want to get a sales growth report. So in this case, what could happen is instead of the VP actually executing the use case, his assistant can get the sales growth report and he can give it to the VP. Now, instead of VP, Vice President, his assistant has executed the use case or the behavior, right? Now, this VP here, we call him as the primary actor. Getting it? Next, we have scenario. A scenario describes a set of actions that are performed to achieve a goal under some specified conditions. Now, the set of actions is generally specified as a sequence, even though in actual execution, the action specified may be executed in parallel or in some other order. Each step in a scenario is a logical complete action performed either by an actor or a system. Okay. Next, we have main success scenario. Now, this describes the interaction if nothing fails and all the steps in the scenario succeeds. Whenever actor or the primary actor, when they execute all the use cases and nothing is failing, then we call it as a main success scenario. By the name only we can get it right, success scenario. Now, there may be many success scenarios. The use case aims to achieve its goal. Different situation can arise while the system and the actor are interacting. Okay. Now, for this situation, a use case has an extension scenario. It will describe the system behavior if some of the steps in the main success scenario they do not complete successfully, and sometimes we call them it as exception scenarios. That means when we have, say suppose for example we have 5 success scenarios and one of them fail, then what we have to do, that comes under the exception scenario. Then the last one is the extension scenario or the scope, which specifies the objective of that particular use case. Okay, next we'll see a example. So let's consider a small online auction system which has been built for a university, and this system we call it as university auction system. Okay, so through this system the buyers and sellers they can buy or sell the goods. So we will also assume that there is a separate financial subsystem wherein the buyers and the sellers they have account in it and they can make payment. Okay, now in this system we have two logical actors, or the two actors, primary actors. One is buyer and the other one is seller. Why we have two actors? Because these two have different goals to achieve. Now, besides these two actors, we also have a actor which is called as the system itself. The auction system itself will be a actor here. Now, the financial system is another actor. Okay. So let us first consider the main use cases of the system. So what could be the main functionalities of the system? In this auction system, you can put an item for auction. Then you can make a bid. Then what you can do? You can complete an auction. So these three things could be the main functionalities of the system, this auction system, and they are represented in this use case description. Here, put an item for auction, make a bid, and complete auction of an item. Okay, now we have to know some important things here while writing the use cases. The first thing, the use cases should be self-explanatory. Then they should be written in a natural language like story like. You have to write it in a story like, which makes them easy to understand by both the analyst who has technical knowledge or even a layman can understand it. Now, so whenever this use cases, whenever we write the use cases, right? So it should be such that it minimizes the communication gap between the developers and other stakeholders. Now, so we should note here that the use cases should be numbered, right? See here, we have UC1, then we have UC2, then we have UC3. So use cases should be numbered. Why these have to be numbered? Because for reference purpose. Once the name is given, we have to name the use case. Numbering is done. Now you have to name the use case. What is naming of the use case means? What is the goal of that particular use case? Now the use case 1, the goal of this one is put an item for auction. Now this we call it as, this we call number of the use case, numbering of the use case, and then we have name of the use case. Now the name is nothing but goal of the use case. You need not write the goal separately. Why? Because it comes in the name itself. Use case 2, what is the purpose of this one? To make a bid. Use case 3, the name is complete auction of an item. Okay. Now, next we have to specify the primary actor who will actually act upon this particular use case. So in our use case 1, the primary actor is seller. Use case 2, primary actor is buyer. And use case 3, the primary actor is the auction system itself. Next, we have the precondition here. Okay, now what is this precondition suggest? It specifies what the system will ensure before allowing the use case to be initiated. Suppose if we consider this use case 1, put an item for auction. So what is the precondition? So the precondition here is seller has to be logged in. So once he has logged in, this is an assumption. Okay, so assumption here is seller has logged in, then only he can perform the operation. Okay, then we will discuss this one by one. So once you have specified the precondition, next is the main success scenario. So to perform this particular function, what all things are needed? Okay, so what could be the scenarios? So you have to mention them. So once you have mentioned the success scenarios, then you have to mention the exception scenarios. So exception scenarios, how do you write it? Say for example, the main success scenario, one of them, you feel like it will fail. Okay, you feel like it will fail, then what you have to do? So you have to write that in a exception scenario. First we'll consider this one, put an item for auction. So what happens here is the primary actor is seller. Now he has to put an item for action. for that case he has to be logged in first. So once he has logged in, what he can do, he can post an item, its category, description, picture for etc. for auction. So this is the first functionality what he can do. Next what he can do, he can, okay, once he puts an item for auction, the system shows him the past prices of the similar items. Okay, then seller specifies the starting bid price. Like if he has, say suppose the seller has put an textbook for auction. So the second point, what does it say? So if similar book was present in the system, so it will tell the past prices. What was the bid price of that particular book? Then the seller, what he has to do? He has to specify the bid price and when the auction will close. The last one is the system accept the item. That means the system will post the item so that other buyers can see the book which the seller has posted. Now the exception scenario here is, again, how do you mention the exception scenario? For each point in the main success scenario, you have to write the exceptions where you will feel that it will fill. Okay, now here it has been written for the main success scenario 2, there is a exception scenario. So what does the main success scenario 2 say? It says system shows past prices of similar items to seller. So what could be the exception scenario here? So what if there are no past items in that particular category, right? So what happens in that case? So something has to be done if there are no items in that category. So what your system does, it tells the seller about this situation. Okay, it gives a error message or whatever. The handling has to be done properly. Next, we have use case 2, which says make a bid. Who will make a bid? The buyer. So here primary actor is a buyer. The precondition here is the buyer has to be logged in. Then we have the success scenarios for the buyer. The first one, buyer searches or browses for the particular item and he selects some items. Okay. Then once he has selected one particular book or item, what the system does is it gives the rating of the seller, what is the first starting bid price, what is the current bid, what is the highest bid made, and then it will ask the buyer to make a bid. Next thing what happens, the buyer specifies a bid price. Say for example, the highest bid price for the particular book which seller has posted was 500 rupees. Now this particular buyer, what he does, he posts 600 rupees as the bid price. Okay, now next what he has to do, suppose once he has posted the bid price, what the system has to do, it will accept the bid and it will block the funds in the bidder's account. It will deduct or it will block. Okay, it will not deduct but it will block. Now once the system updates the maximum bid price, it informs all other users about the maximum bid price what the buyer has bidded. Now the exception scenarios here are for the point 3. What does the point 3 in success scenario say? It says buyer specifies the bid price. Now how should you specify a bid price? It should be always greater than the last highest bid. So what if you had made the lowest bidding price? Then the system informs you the it will inform the bidder to rebid because the price has been lower. Next, for the fourth point, it says system accepts the bid, blocks funds in bidder's account. So what if the bidder doesn't have in his account, he doesn't have the enough fund? In this case, what happens? The system cancels the bid, asks the user to get more funds and then rebid. Okay. The third use case here is complete auction of an item. Okay, seller has posted here, buyer has bidded, then last one is completing the auction of the item. The actor here is the entire auction system. What is the precondition? The precondition here is the last date for bidding has been reached. What could be the success scenarios? The system, it selects the highest bidder, sends email to the selected bidder and it also informs the seller about the bid price and email to all other bidders also. Like this particular bidder has bid the highest price, so he will get the book like this. Then what it has to do? It has to debit bidder's account and credit it to the sellers. It has to debit from the bidder's account and it has to credit to this particular seller's account. Then what it has to do, the system, it has to unblock all the other bidders' funds. After that, the transfer from the seller's account commission amount to the organization account. So the seller has got the price, right? Suppose 600 rupees he has got. The commission should be cut and it has to go to the organization account. This could be another scenario. Then last one is remove the item from the site and update the records. Here we have mentioned exception scenarios as none. There could be exception scenarios here as well. Getting it? How to write a use case description. First, here use case number is important, then name is important, primary actor, you have to mention precondition, success scenarios and exception scenarios you have to write. Getting it? Now let us study about extensions. So in the last slide we had seen the use cases. It has primary actor, its goal, success scenarios, exception scenarios, preconditions, etc. Right? So your use case, it can also specify a scope. If suppose the system being built, it has many subsystems. So in this case, what happens? The system use cases may actually be capturing the behavior of the subsystem. Wherever we have the subsystem coming into picture, it is always better to specify the scope of the system, scope of the subsystem. Okay. Now consider this example wherein the name of the use case is auctioning an item. The primary actor here is this auction system itself. The scope here is the auction conducting organization. This is a subsystem here. So there is no preconditions and we have got four main success scenarios. These success scenarios, it will capture what it will capture. The three use cases what we have seen in the last slide, it would be captured here again. Apart from that, feedback from the seller, buyer and updating of the records can be done. Next, now we will study how to develop the use cases. Now, use cases are not only for the document of the requirements. So they will be in the form of storytelling or in the text, both of which can be easily understood by different stakeholders. So these use cases can become a good medium for discussion and brainstorming. These use cases can also be used for problem analysis. While developing the use cases, the formal and informal models can also be built, though they are not required here. Okay. Now, use cases can be evolved in a stepwise refinement manner, at which each step will add some more details to the previous step. So there could be any number of abstractions possible, but we will discuss the four natural levels here. The first one is actors and goals. So the goal here is nothing but the name of the use case. Now, who are the actors that will perform the goals? They will perform the goals would be defined here. First, we have to identify what are all the goals of the system. Then we have to identify who will achieve these goals. Those are called as actors. So these things should be captured in the first level of abstractions. The second level of abstraction is main success scenarios. Once we have got all the goals or all the functionalities of the system, who will perform them, then what we have to do, we have to find out for each use case, we have to find out the success scenarios. The use cases can have n number of success scenarios. We have to identify them and we have to make sure that as per the requirement all these functionalities are captured, and if suppose something is left we have to take that and we have to add them as well. The third one here is the third level of abstraction is failure conditions. So once we have specified all the main success scenarios, there could be some failure scenarios as well, right? So we have to identify all possible failure conditions in this step. So for each main success scenario, there could be one or more failure scenarios. We have to identify them and we have to write them. Okay. Now, so once you have identified the failure condition, say suppose at this step it might fail. Uh, you might have guessed it. Then what next? What should be done? So before deciding what should be done for these failure conditions, so it is always better to enumerate the failure conditions and review for the completeness. Okay. The last one is failure handling. That is nothing but once the failure condition occurs, how it has to be handled. So this is the tricky and difficult part in writing of your use cases. Okay. So determining what should be the behavior of the system under these failure condition, what it will do is it will generally identify some different new business rules or new actors. So we had already said that these use cases can be used for analysis as well. So how it is done, right? Say suppose the basic steps in developing the use cases at any step, what the analyst or the stakeholder do is they can go back to the earlier steps and they can do a detailed analysis of that. Now during this detailed analysis, what might happen is the one who is doing the detailed analysis, they might come up with a they might identify the new actors, or they might come up with the new goals, or a new use case itself may be uncovered. Okay, so that's why we say that use cases can also be helpful in problem analysis. Okay. Okay, let's have a quiz. The question is, a person or a system which uses the system being built for achieving some goal is termed as dash. You have 2 minutes of time. Okay, time up. Next, we will see how to draw a use case diagram. Okay, now we had seen the actor, like the actors are the one who uses the system, right? So, in a use case diagram, you have to represent the actor in this way, in this manner. So, this is called as a stick diagram. Okay, the actors can be individual or it can be the system itself. So, here we are taking the example of ATM, bank ATM. Okay, so how do you do a transaction there? So as a customer, you go, you enter your um, enter your password, then you can do a withdrawal, or you can do a transfer, check balance, everything. Suppose you what you do is you withdraw some money from the ATM. What it has to do? So it has to deduct from your account, and the updated balance have to be showed to you. So our bank is also a is also actor here. Okay, remember the actors have to be represented in this as in this stick diagram. Okay, now it can be a user like the customer, or the ATM technician who will do the maintenance of the ATM, or it could be a system itself. A bank can also be a actor. Okay, then we have these ovals, right? So these are nothing but our actual use cases. These ovals are nothing but actual use cases. That means the functionalities of the system are represented in this oval. Then all these use cases should be inside a system. So we are building the use case for the ATM, right? So what you have to do, you have to draw a border like this, and inside that border you have to have all these use cases. Now we say that this border, whatever the rectangle you can see here, right? So this is our system, this is our ATM, and ATM has these functionalities. Okay, now the actor customer, right? What else what he can do when he go to a ATM? A customer can check a balance, customer can deposit funds, customer can withdraw cash, and customer can transfer the funds. Now, so whenever a customer or actor can do a specific functionality, we have to represent it in a line. Like from the actor to the use case, you have to draw a line. If suppose, say, this customer, um, this is just an assumption or example, okay? Usually a customer will not do a repair thing, but take for example, we want to connect this customer or this actor with this use case. We right now we have a technician here who does the maintenance work and who does the repair work. Say suppose this customer, this is an example, in real case, in real world this won't happen, just for your understanding I'm saying. So suppose this actor he want to do a repair thing. What, how can you represent it? So you have to draw something like this. This means you have to use a jumper. You cannot represent directly like this. Okay, like you cannot intersect two lines here, this is not done. Okay, okay, let's remove this as well. Fine. Okay, now a technician is also an actor. What are the functionalities of a technician? So he can do a maintenance and he can do a repair. Again remember, all the lines whatever from the actor it is joining to the functionalities have to meet at single point. You cannot something represent something like this. Okay, you cannot do like this. You have to maintain, you have to, what you have to do, so it should meet at a point. Okay, now we have a bank as another system. What does the bank can do? So whenever you check balance, you do any one of these tasks, or ATM technician does the maintenance and repair work, everything has to be connected to the server. So here bank system is nothing but a server. It manages all these functionalities. Getting it? So whenever you draw a use case, there should be actors. Actors should be represented in a stick diagram. Then we have the entire system. It has to be represented in a box like this. And inside boxes, we should have the actual use cases or the functionalities, and those should be represented in oval. Now you have to understand that you have to compulsorily name the actors like this, and you have to compulsorily name the functionalities or the use cases, then you have to name the system as well. Getting it? So this is an example for simple use case. Now we will understand the different scenarios or extensions in the use cases. Say for example, you have built an e-commerce website, and the last step there is you have purchased something and you have to pay. Okay, so you have to check out. So what are the things that are needed for checkout? So you have to calculate the tax and payment, right? Then you have to do the payment. The payment can either be done through cash, cash on delivery, and through the card, net banking, something like this. So we have some extensions here. That means, so this is an example for your supermarket. So you have, say suppose you have purchased some of the items, and then you finally go for billing. So while billing, while checkout, what they will do, they'll scan the item, then they'll find the total and tax, then you will do the payment. So this checkout is one use case. Here some customer is there or actor is there. Okay, so actor is there, and what he'll do, he'll check out. This checkout, it will again include scanning of the item, calculation of the tax and total, then payment. Again this payment can include cash on cash or card payment. This is not here. Okay, so this is an example, like a single use case can have child use cases. Like it will include, while checkout is a functionality, the checkout will include different use cases. So instead of writing all the use cases here in one, so we will split them. And you have to note that we will mark them as include relationship, and you have to represent them in a dashed line with the open arrow, and that particular line should have this include name written on it. Okay, so if you consider a same ATM system, so we have a customer when he enters to the ATM, his session starts, right, whenever he inserts the card. So once he inserts a card, what is the next thing? He has to do some transaction. For transaction he has to enter his pin. So this session, it will include transaction. Okay, now the transaction can be withdrawal of the money, deposit, transfer, or inquiry. Now this arrow with this particular the line with this particular arrow, we call it as a generalization. That means your transaction use case your parent, and these four are your child use cases. So whenever you do some transaction, you either withdraw money, deposit it, you have some inquiry, or you do transfer. So this is nothing but a inheritance relationship. So apart from that, we have extend scenario as well. So this extend scenario is nothing but your failure conditions. Like whenever you enter a wrong pin, what should happen? So this is the use case, and you have to again, like include, you have to write it in a dashed line, and you have to have this extend word there. Okay, hope you got how to draw a use case and what are these include, extend, and generalization. That's it for today. We'll conclude our session. Thank you.